Yo, it's your boy Cine. I'm here to talk about the NFL Honors Awards and who won and why they won. I think a lot of these just going into it were pretty obvious, right? Like, Defensive Player of the Year, Defensive Rookie of the Year, Offensive Rookie of the Year, Comeback Player of the Year. I mean, most of these guys, Offensive Player of the Year, all these guys, we kind of expected. I think the only one that was questionable was, MVP, which was down to the wire, down to the last week of the season, to be honest. And as you can see, we got our guy Matthew Stafford right here. Um, you know, he led in passing yards, he led in passing touchdowns with 4,700 yards and 46 passing touchdowns. Um, I mean, those were the best in the league, like I said, leading in those. But he also only had 8 interceptions. And I think he had 2 games where he threw multiple interceptions. Uh, Off the top of my head, being the Panthers and the Falcons, right? So, obviously you have a bad game, it's gonna count, right? It's not just ignored, but you take out those 2 anomalies, right? You take out those 2 games where he just played unusually bad, and I mean he had a great season efficiency wise, putting up, great numbers, passing yards, passing touchdowns wise, with only 8 interceptions. On top of that, he finished with a 12-5 team record with the Rams being 12-5 in the hardest division in the league, NFC West. I think that just speaks more volume than Drake May, going 14-3 in the AFC East. Um, and it's not just the AFC East. I mean, Drake May had a much easier schedule due to the fact that Patriots finished what 4-13 the year before, so they were blessed with an easy schedule. I'm not saying that's his fault, but I'm just saying that's the facts, right? Not only did Matthew Stafford just put up great numbers, and a lot of people will tell you Drake May and his efficiency, right? That's something. I mean, not just his efficiency, but all those smaller metrics. I say smaller, I'm just talking not yards or touchdowns, right? All those more um, analytic metrics and stats. Drake may lead in those, but like I said, easier competition, easier schedule. It just it didn't swing the voters enough to want to put him ahead. I think that he is, years ahead of him where he's going to be able to um, put up a good fight and, probably win an MVP. I honestly think he'll win one. Um, I mean, at this pace, the Patriots are looking to be pretty good for a while. So we'll see how that goes going forward. This was actually the closest voting MVP wise since I think 2003. It was decided by a single vote. And funny enough, if you actually look at the voting, someone voted a single first place vote for Justin Herbert. I want to know who that is because they should never be allowed to vote again. I'm not sure what they were on whenever they did that. Um, but yeah, honestly, I think that this MVP award was deserved. I think most people are going to think it was deserved. Patriots fans are going to argue otherwise. Obviously, they're going to be biased, but I think it was a deserving award, unlike last year being Josh Allen over Lamar Jackson, right? And before I keep going, I just want to say these awards, mean a lot, but you look at guys like Aaron Rodgers, you look at guys like Lamar Jackson, who have won numerous MVPs, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm just saying these awards matter, but what I think most fans are going to want is a Super Bowl, right? You know, again, I'm being unbiased when I review all this and when I say all this because I'm a Rams fan. But yes, I'm very happy that Matthew Stafford won the MVP, but I would have traded that for the Rams beating the Seahawks and then going on to beat the Patriots in the Super Bowl. But, beggars can't be choosers. And then we have this guy, Offensive Player of the Year, Jaxon Smith-Njigba. Uh, I think this one was also deserved. I think that this one was, it was close. I wouldn't say close because like the voting's gonna say otherwise, but him and Puka Nacua both put up great seasons, both having over 1,700 yards. Um, I think that both of them, could have won it, and you couldn't really be mad at either. But I think that this was definitely deserved. Um, yeah, he had 1,700 yards, which was NFL leading. He had 119 receptions, 10 receiving touchdowns, and he averaged about 15 yards per catch, which is very good, right? A lot of explosive plays, a lot of rack yards, run after catch, and I think that he just by far put up the best complete offensive season. Uh, he led the league in not only yards from scrimmage, but he also, like I said, put himself in a position where he was just playing better and putting up better stats than other guys like Puka Nacua and Chris McCaffrey. I mean, the voting was a good landslide, I believe, but I think that it was, and it's gonna sound like I just said I'm a Rams fan, so I'm not sounding biased, but I think it was closer than the voting showed. Um, he's only the second player also to win the Offensive Player of the Year award as a Seahawks player, which I think is interesting. I actually am curious as to know who the other Offensive Player of the Year is, but like I said, I think this was pretty deserving. I just looked and it was Sean Alexander about 20 years ago. That surprised me. I honestly thought it was going to be Steve Largent, but it's actually surprising. I don't know why I never won it. But yeah, I think that deserving, like I said. I think that this man right here obviously deserved it. Defensive Player of the Year, Myles Garrett. To no one's surprise, he won that award. I mean, he put up an insane amount of sacks. He broke the NFL single season record with 23, league leader in QB pressures, and I mean, he was just disruptive the entire season. No one's going to argue with this one. It's pretty obvious. Um, this is his second time winning the Defensive Player of the Year award. I think that um, he has a good chance to win it again, maybe win it numerous more times. Um, I think that he, is deserving of more going forward. The question is, will the voters, get fatigued with him? Right? We look at last year with Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson, I think, in my opinion, should have won MVP last year. Josh Allen won it. I think that really just came down to, um, voter fatigue. I think it just was like, oh, we got to give Josh Allen one. Lamar Jackson's already won two. Why are we gonna give him a third one when this other guy hasn't won one yet? I think that was pretty unfair, but I think Myles Garrett has a good chance at winning another one, tying Aaron Donald and T.J. Watt with 3 Defensive Player of the Year awards, and I think that honestly he could potentially win a fourth one and break that record. I mean, it was a near unanimous uh, vote. I don't know why it wasn't unanimous. I'm not sure who you know could be better than him. I'm not sure why that wasn't unanimous. I think that's the most obvious one of them all, of all the awards. But then you have Coach of the Year, Mike Vrabel. Um, he led his team to 14-3, right? A year after the Patriots went 3-14 with, was it Gerard Mayo last year, I believe? Um, led them to a Super Bowl. Obviously, it's a regular season award, so that didn't really matter. But I think it just shows the level of coaching he's, putting up. It's his first season as a Patriots head coach, which is really impressive. Being able to turn a team from 3-14 to 3-14 to 14-3, and also make the Super Bowl as your first year. He's I mean, all these players are gonna say, he's a player's coach. He played for the Patriots, years ago, but he's just someone you want as a coach, or yeah, someone you want as a coach as a player, right? He's someone who's gonna understand the intricacies of being a player, and he's gonna understand how to, better motivate you and a team around him, right? He's someone who's gonna lift you up, who's gonna just provide the best possible position to win, right, on a weekly basis. The offensive rookie of the year, right, Tetairoa McMillan, oh wait, Tetairoa McMillan, excuse me. He he was good. I'm not gonna say he's not. He had 1,000 receiving yards. I think he was the only rookie who had 1,000 receiving yards. He had 70 receptions, 7 touchdowns. I mean, he put up uh great numbers, but also he just put up great numbers for the Panthers, right? I think I saw someone that said it was either 30 or 40% of Carolina's total receiving yards, which just shows that he was kind of the meat and cheese of that offense. Um, I think this award, it went back and forth on a few different guys. I think Trayvon Henderson, could have won it. He had times where he was looking like the best. For the first couple weeks, Emeka Buka looked like the best. I think that Emeka, not should have won it, but had he kept the performance and not, been injured and the Bucks not just gone downhill, I think he was going to win it. But, you know, anything can happen, and Tetairoa just played consistent throughout the whole season, and he was deserving of it. So, I'm not going to argue with that. I think that he can be a great option for the Panthers going forward. Hopefully, Bryce Young can um, build a good connection with him, and that the Panthers can just, provide everything they can to this offense to hopefully lift it up. Bryce Young, is good. He hasn't been great. He's had times where he's looked really good, but also times where he's looked really bad. And I think that he just needs to get a little bit more consistent in that matter. Not play as many, because it's like with him, it's he'll play either a really good game or a really bad game, and you honestly might want him to play a little bit more in the middle, right? You don't want him to just like sell a game, but if he wins a game for you, it's great. But also, you don't just want him to sell a game for you. Um, but yeah, hopefully they can build around him a little bit more. Defensive Rookie of the Year, Carson Schwesinger. Uh, he was great all season. I think this one was also pretty not obvious, but like we could all see this one coming. 156 tackles, 2.5 sacks, 2 interceptions, top 10 in NFL total tackles. I mean, the Browns defense is actually, I mean, the Browns are the Browns, but like their defense is actually, good. It's unfortunate that their defensive coordinator actually just left recently, as in this morning he resigned. I think that's just insane that the Browns let that happen. They went out and hired, you know, one of the coaching members from the Ravens to be their head coach when you have a great defensive coordinator who wants to be your head coach right there. So not only that, but you know, now they've lost their defensive coordinator, and we'll see how that affects them going forward. Hopefully that doesn't impact Carson's, you know, just like improvement and, you know, I'm not sure the words I can, explain this as, but hopefully it doesn't, impact how Carson plays going forward, and that this doesn't affect him negatively. Um, I mean, this was just an easy choice for Defensive Rookie of the Year, and I think that, like I said, not many people were surprised by that. Comeback Player of the Year, uh, Chris McCaffrey. I think that this was also deserving. I believe this is his second time winning it. Um, I want to say it's his second time. I'm not sure if that's correct or not. But yeah, I mean, he was, he was an MVP finalist, right? Offensive Player of the Year finalist, I believe. I mean, he was great this year. He put up all of the yards, all of the stats for the 49ers offense. It was just him and the football for their offense, essentially. I think that he still has, the thing about running backs is I want to say he still has some, years left in him, but for all we know, he could just be, really bad next year. Like last year, he was injured, he wasn't great, and that was after he had a great season the year before. I think that running backs just can't quite keep that consistency like a receiver can, or a tight end can, or a quarterback can, in that, they running backs will have a good year, but then the next year it's hard to be good again. I mean, look at Saquon Barkley. He had a great season last year, and I know the Eagles, offense just went downhill and they weren't that good this year. But I think in this case, it doesn't matter all too much. I think that Saquon just wasn't at that same level that he was the year before, and I think that Chris McCaffrey potentially, might not be at that same level next year. And he's just had injury problems throughout his years, Chris McCaffrey, and I think that, you just never know when an injury might pop up with him. So it's good that he won comeback player of the year, but it's unfortunate that after this great season, he wasn't able to capitalize on, a greater award in that sense. Um, Protector of the year, Joe Thuney. I think that this one was also, you know, deserving. I'm not gonna say I know a whole lot about who should have won this. I think that, other guys like Penei Sewell could have won this. The I'm blanking on the guy's name, the guy from the Broncos. I mean, I just don't know a ton of, like, I know offensive players or offensive linemen, but in this sense, I'm not just sure who's putting up the best stats, I guess, for offensive linemen. But I mean, he had 1,100 offensive snaps, 0 sacks allowed. The Bears went from 5-12 to 11-6, and this is after, you know, people are saying build Caleb Williams an offensive line. They go out, they sign Joe Thuney, who's a four-time Super Bowl champion, 3 with the Patriots, 1 with the Chiefs, and or is it 2-2? I'm not sure. Anyways, um, they went out, built a good offensive line, and he was able to just keep Caleb Williams protected. And the Bears had a great season. They went from 5-12 to 11-6, like I said, and then they also uh, made it to the divisional round, right, and was an interception away from Caleb Williams from being in the NFC Championship. So I think the Bears have a lot of good going forward, and I think that Joe Thuney was able to just provide a good year this year and a good year, as long as he's on the Bears. I think he'll just be good. Um, Walter Payton Man of the Year. Bobby Wagner won this one this year. Um, this award, if you don't know, just demonstrates the best, like, man, not the best athlete, not the best player, but the best person in the sense that they're just a good person, right? Um, I mean, he had good stats. He put up 120 tackles. I feels like he puts up, 120 plus tackles every year since he's been in the league. But he's the defensive signal caller for the Commanders, and he's just, recognized as a good guy in the community and just a good guy among the other players in the league. You know, this award just shows, your on-field excellence, but also uh, just the impact you have in the community, right? And the impact you have across the league in the sense of, like I said, you're just a good person. And I mean, he demonstrated all those things, and I think that this was deserving. He's a good guy. He's never really had any problems. He's never really had any controversy throughout his time in the league. So I think that this was deserving. But yeah, I think that all these awards were just pretty deserving. I don't think any of them necessarily were just like, oh, this guy was robbed or this guy was, whatever. I think that people will tell you, specifically Patriots fans will tell you, Drake May was deserving of MVP, but I think, Matthew Stafford was also deserving. I think that he played better competition. I think that he put up equally as good stats. Yeah, he had a few bad games towards the end, but I think that's really the only reason that people swayed their opinion towards Drake May. Before those last two games, I mean, really before that Falcons game, all he had to do was kind of like play decent and he would have won it with ease, right? That Falcons game, kind of changed things. He threw like three interceptions. The Rams lost the game that they shouldn't have lost. And, um, I mean, he bounced back after that with like four touchdowns against the Cardinals in week 18. So I think, or week 17. But I think that all these awards were deserving and happy for all those guys. And I think that next year it'll be fun to watch and see who wins it. Hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one.